Hey you guys, so today I wanted to try out a bunch of your guys' drugstore favorites. This was kind of spearheaded because I had recently gone on a trip with e.l.f. Cosmetics and I haven't really tried much of their cosmetics. The trip was kind of like more based around like skincare and stuff like that, so I got to try a few little makeup products of theirs, but when I came home I ordered a bunch of shit to try myself. So I asked you guys what your favorite e.l.f. products were, and then I wanted to try some of them, but I didn't feel like I had like enough makeup to do a video with. Like I had ordered like a lot of like, listen, I'll be honest, I ordered a bunch of cream highlighters. Okay, it's just who I am. So I asked you guys what your favorite general drugstore products were, and you guys left a lot of fun little things to try. So I picked up a whole bunch of shit and we're gonna try it right now. Okay, cool, let's do this. So the first thing I picked up, I've had a few friends recommend this to me as well, and I had so many of you guys recommending this to me on Twitter. This is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion. So I am going to put this underneath my foundation, and then to be honest, I might mix it with my foundation as well. I picked up the shade Medium Glow, and I'm just gonna apply that with my fingers. Oh, that is very nice and glowy. It's nice because like, it's not, oh. Sometimes I find, especially with drugstore products and also NARS, a lot of their sort of like glowy things are glittery, like just chunky glitter. I don't know why. And so even with like their like cream, like face products and stuff like that, it's oftentimes like so kind of like chunky that it just doesn't look nice on the skin, and it doesn't look like a natural like kind of glowy skin. It just looks like you have a glitter catastrophe on your face. And that's not, it's usually not the look I go for. Sometimes yes, not all the time. That's really pretty actually. You know what? I feel like I would almost recommend that to people instead of like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I don't know if I want to make such a bold statement just right out the gate, but I just feel like it gives kind of that similar appearance, but it's not as intense. I know a lot of people have said about the Hollywood Flawless Filter, like if they have oily skin, that it's way too much, like it makes them like a grease slick. But I feel like this is like really nice and glowy, but it's not anything that I'm like, oh, this is like too much glow. Does that exist? No, it doesn't, but I mean, whatever. I picked up two different foundations. These were the ones that were kind of recommended the most to me. This one is, I know, Christy's favorite. This is the Covergirl Vitalist Elixir foundation. And then a lot of you were recommending the Physicians Formula, the Healthy foundation as well. Christy, I don't know what I'm saying. I will try this, but I'm more intrigued by this. So I'm gonna try the Physicians Formula one today. I'm upset by this. I just don't know what to say. Okay, just gonna pop that back on. Is this a twist? Oh, yes, it's a twist. Wait, what? Oh. Ooh, that's fragrant. Okay, let's just go for this. Oh, that might be a little light. I'm not sure yet. I will say, this foundation cost me $20, which is offensive to my sensibilities. I feel like Physicians Formula is probably one of my favorite drugstore brands that I've tried, but I kind of feel like it's also because they're not even drugstore in my mind. I feel like $20 to me isn't what I would consider like affordable. I'm pretty sure I make the same complaint in every drugstore video about how much drugstore products really cost. I will say though, when I was ordering my e.l.f. order, I ordered like, I think I ordered like 15 items and it came out to $70. But I did notice like where that kind of like lack of cost came into like packaging, even because when I got my box shipped to me, I opened it up and like all the products were just kind of like loosely like in there, just free falling. It was something else. I'm gonna try and like put this underneath my eyeballs because I forgot to pick up a concealer. So I'm just gonna see how this works as a concealer and then we'll just go from there. So far this looks absolutely beautiful. I feel like it's exactly what I look for in a foundation. It has more of like kind of like a satin finish. I wouldn't call it matte and I wouldn't call it necessarily glowy or dewy, but it just kind of has like almost like more of a skin-like finish. The smell of the foundation is quite strong, so I'm just curious how it is for those of you. If you've ever tried it, if you have sensitive skin, I'm curious how it is for you, because sometimes there's certain things that I'm like, oh yeah, it's like that's a nice light scent, and then other times I'm like, oh, that is, oh, okay, this is my grandmother. I'm loving this. I really, really like the look of this foundation. Let me zoom you guys in so you guys can take a nice close look up. Whoop. So that is that foundation up close. Let me grab a little mirror so I can look up close with you. It's medium and it has a little bit of buildability, I feel, but not a ton. I think that if you were somebody that had more discoloration, like let's say you had some redness through your cheeks or something, you may find yourself wanting to go in with a more full coverage foundation or concealer over top of this one. But in terms of like just an everyday foundation, I feel like this is really, really nice. And even over here, like you can kind of see how it covered like my little red spots and stuff. I have a small little breakout over here. You can obviously still see a little bit of that redness coming through. So if you're somebody that likes a little bit more coverage on your spots or any kind of redness or discoloration, then you might want to go a little bit heavier. But even underneath the eyes, I'm pretty happy with it. And I feel like that color match is pretty okay, considering I was just eyeballing it and there was no testers. I did all right for myself today. Okay. This was like a super last minute one. I was like literally walking away, I had picked everything out that I was gonna grab at the drugstore, and then someone tweeted me like as I was walking away, and they were like, get the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer, and they said that it was super underrated. So I picked up the Maybelline Brow Precise Precise Fiber Volumizer in soft brown. Oh, it's very tight on there. Oh, let me just show that to you up close. That looks like mad poo. Just by looking at this little diarrhea stick, I would say that these are one of those things that I'm like, I don't know that I'd call that underrated. Perhaps just rated as it should be, a poopy diarrhea stick. Okay, I'm gonna just go for this. This feels like such a weird, I'm so concerned. Okay. That was not as disastrous as I thought it was gonna be. I feel like that color is a little weird. Like it looks a little green kind of to me. I'm not sure how it's coming up on camera. I don't know how I feel about this strange paddle brush. I feel like it's okay for my brows because I feel like I have a little bit of thickness there, but I just feel like it would be really difficult if you didn't have fuller brows. So here's just kind of like with and without. I mean, I feel like it's okay, but I'm not blown away by it. Like I think I still really prefer like my glossy boy brow and shit. But I'll be honest, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that looks so clumpy. Like it's just gonna be like brow smear going across my face, but it actually like doesn't get onto the skin at all like I thought it would. I'm gonna go fill in the rest of my brows with a little bit of powder. I didn't pick up anything else for brows, so I'm gonna fill it in with a little bit of powder, and then we can move on to the eyeballs. So for the eyes, I'm gonna be using an eyeshadow palette that actually was sent to me. This is from Covergirl. It is called the True Naked Sunsets palette. Very nice. I like these little berry tones. I feel like color-wise, this is really similar to the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette that just came out. And I actually feel like, oddly enough, it has more variation than the Naked Cherry palette does. I felt like that palette, as soon as I opened it up, I was like, oh, there's like 4 shades that don't need to be in here because they're replicating each other. Okay, well, I'm not gonna hate on a palette that isn't here to defend itself. So anyways, let's just move on with our lives. Okay, I'm gonna be taking my little Sigma E30 brush. I'm gonna grab this color here. It's like a little matte raspberry, or one could say cherry. I don't know what I'm doing yet, so let's just hope for the best here. I think I'm gonna create a little kind of wing shape. When you have fallout like that, that's bigger particles, I don't know if you can see it, I just take a brush and I go like this. And I just swipe upwards. And it basically just picks up all those loose particles. Then I'm just gonna take a Clean Smith 230 brush, and I'm going to kind of blend that shape out before I decide what I'm doing next, because I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I kind of want to do like a sort of like a raspberry wing that's almost like more intense, like not like as blended. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that same color on my Smith brush and just kind of keep like buffing out a really soft shape with it. And I'm taking that deeper into my crease there. And I'm just picking up more color when I need it. I'm continually building up. When it comes to a palette like this, where to me, because this shade is shimmery right here, I feel like I would normally use that shade as like kind of a transition shade. So when I have a palette that doesn't seem to have an obvious transition shade, I'll apply a color down and then I'll use a clean brush to blend out, rather than continuing to blend with the same brush that I applied with, just because using that clean brush helps to actually diffuse that color, so it kind of almost creates a transition shade if you don't really have one on hand. Okay, then I'm gonna take that kind of like deeper maroon color. Again, kind of trying to create a little bit more of an intense wing on that outer corner. Maybe I'll kind of take that color and bring it across the upper lash line, just to kind of make it look really nice and smoky. And then I can go back to my same Smith blending brush, and I'm just going to tap that color on. I'm gonna grab this shade right beside the first one that we used. It has a little bit more shimmer to it, and I'm just grabbing that on my Smith 230 brush, and I'm just kind of patting that on over top of our outer V. I'm gonna take some of that foundation that we used, and then I'm just taking my small little Hakuhodo brush. Yes, I'm using a Hakuhodo brush in a drugstore makeup tutorial. Don't ever talk to me about it again. And I'm going to do a little small cut crease. Just kind of going from that very inner corner, just like that. I'm not doing anything too crazy. Then I'm gonna take this nice shimmery shade we have here, and I'm just bringing that right over top of where we applied that foundation. Then I'm just taking the same Smith brush that we used, and I'm just patting over top to blend those colors. I feel like I need a shade that's just a little bit deeper, so I'm gonna grab the e.l.f. The New Classics palette. This one was given to me on the trip, and I'm gonna grab this color here called Muse, and I'm gonna bring that color right into that outer crease, and then I'm gonna bring it down towards the lash line, and then just blending over top. I am going to take a little bit of that color called Charmer, because it looks like it would be like a nice shade to kind of like blend over top of all this with. Oh yes, beautiful. Then I'm going to go in with that same kind of cherry color we went in with first on the top, and I'm going to put it underneath my lower lash line. And I'm really smoking that into my eye bag. And then just taking our little blending brush, buffing over top, so it's kind of all going into that little wing shape. And then I'm going to take my little shading brush, and I'm going to grab some of that foundation, and I'm going to put it along my inner corner and then onto where my eye bag protrudes. And then I'm going to take that same shimmery color we used. I'm just kind of using like the side of my shader brush, and I'm just pressing that champagne color on, so it makes my eye bag look even more intense, like I haven't slept in years. Okay, I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna go finish my other eye, and I'm gonna pop on those little lashes, and then I'll come back and show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so that is the look with lashes and everything. I'm not completely sold on it yet, so I just kind of want to work on it a little bit more. I'm just grabbing a little shader brush, and I'm going to take that same color from that e.l.f. palette called Muse, and I'm going to bring that first along my lash line, just to kind of smoke out that color. Oh, my lash is popping off. I just applied a little bit of liner to kind of cover my lashes. I'm just gonna let that lash kind of live half on like that. I think I'm all right with that happening. Now I'm just gonna take an angle brush with that maroon color in the palette. I don't know, like I want to make this look more dramatic, sort of. And I'm just gonna kind of like draw that in a line in our crease. And then I'm picking up that color Muse. And I'm not going right in, but I'm going a little in, just a little in. See, I almost kind of like the looks of having that little line sort of like unblended in there. Okay, I'm gonna take a little Sigma E47 brush, and I'm gonna take that color Muse, and I'm going to really make that outer corner nice and dramatic. I'm gonna leave it almost kind of like a harsh line like that. It's almost like a little bit more editorial looking. So you want to be really specific with your placement, and you want to make sure that you're not picking up more color than you need. I like this way more. I feel like it looks like more intentional, whereas I felt like before it just kind of looked like too diffused. It needed that kind of darkness pulled back in there. Ooh, now I really like this a lot. Also, this brush is majestic. I don't know that I've ever used this brush before, but if you look at it, it's sort of like fat that way and then a little thin, but it kind of like helps to blend out that crease while still keeping it nice and like dramatic. New favorite brush alert. let's move on to the rest of the face. A bunch of you guys had recommended the e.l.f. It's like primer infused bronzer, I think it was called. It doesn't have the name on here anymore, but it just says Forever Sunkissed on the back. But also someone recommended to me this blush from Burt's Bees in Toasted Cinnamon, and it kind of looks like maybe it's gonna be the same color. I don't know. I'm gonna try this anyways. I like that. You know what it actually almost reminds me of is, what was that shit Nikki Tutorials was always on? Fuck. Disobey from Illamasqua. It almost kind of reminds me of that. It's sort of like, I don't know that mustardy is the right word, but for lack of a better one, it kind of has like a little bit more of like that golden kind of like honey mustard kind of tone. I need to dig that product back out. I haven't used it in forever, but I used to really, really love it a lot to like add kind of like warmth back. I just remember she used to use it in like every single video, and then eventually people were like, stop using the same face products in every video. So then she stopped, but I wish she had never had stopped. Don't stop, believe in. And I feel like the formula is really, really nice as well, actually. I'm loving it, loving every second of it, loving every minute of it. I believe in a thing called love. Okay, so this is the Burt's Bee blush in Toasted Cinnamon. It has a little honeycomb situation. Oh, fuck. I don't know about this. This looks like it's gonna be my exact skin color. Yeah. I feel like I should have tried that with like, maybe even on its own. You know what, I feel like I actually really like that color, but I would sooner wear it almost like on a day where I'm like not wearing makeup, more of like a face-based makeup kind of thing. And I feel like I would do that blush almost like all over instead of like a bronzer. I'm gonna put a little bit of this e.l.f. blush over top because someone had recommended this to me as well. I don't like that it doesn't have like a proper sticker with the full name on the back. This is called Peachy Cheeky. It's one of their baked blushes. I'm not big on baked things other than goods, such as pie. Someone said that you have to scrape off the little top bit. So I'm gonna do that right now over top of a paper towel because I'm responsible. This is what it's like to be an adult. I'm taking my little spoolie and I'm just kind of scratching that top surface and pick up some product. Very shimmery. I don't know how to feel about this. I'm experiencing many things right now. I feel like that's almost like showing up as more of like a highlighter on my skin. Listen, I like a little shimmer in my blush. I feel like that's maybe a little bit more than a little shimmer. I also feel like it has quite a dry texture, which ain't doing it for my skin. I did pick up some shit from e.l.f. for highlighting, but I kind of got my highlight going on here. A couple of you had recommended the highlighting pearl paints. So I got that one in shade, this shade, it doesn't say. Oh, it has a little thing on the end, Pink Lady. But I feel like that's even a little intense considering that we have this little highlight going on. But I also picked up this because you guys had told me it's good for super glossy skin, and this is the it's the Targeted Natural Glow Stick in Fresh Morning Dew. That's what they called me in high school. This kind of just looks like this. Maybe it's just Vaseline in a stick, I'm not too sure. I'm gonna take a little bit on my finger and I'm just going to dab that over top. Yes. This reminds me of the look of the Pat McGrath highlighting balm, which like I'll use that a lot when I've put down like a powder highlight and I feel like it looks too dry, because I just feel like this like adds so much more liveliness back into the skin and you look nice and fresh again. Fresh Morning Dew, one could say. For lips, I'm such a lame ass bitch, but I saw this from Almay. Almay did a little rebrand, didn't they? I walked past, I barely even recognized them. They looked very different from somebody that I used to know. But anyways, this was called a Smart Shade Butter Kiss thing, and it is in shade 70, Nude Light Medium. And it said sheer, and it said creamy, and it said hydrating, and I said, that's for me. So I'm gonna put a little bit of that on. Oh, so much peachier than I was expecting. Oh, but that does feel divine. I almost feel like the formula like highlights the texture of my lips. Maybe I need to put highlighting glow stick on. That did nothing. I'll just go fuck myself. Okay, let me zoom you out. We'll talk about everything we tried today. I'll tell you my Tots, feelings and emotions. So first things first, we started with the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion. I picked up the shade Medium Glow. This was a fucking A+. Really love that guy a lot. I felt like it was kind of a less intense version of that Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless filter, as I had mentioned. I felt like it just added a really, really nice glow to the skin, and I could picture myself kind of using that on days where I'm wearing like literally no makeup, but I just want my skin to look a little more kind of like peppy. It did have the slightest little tint to it. It was a little bit kind of like bronzy on my skin. This was the darkest shade they had available, so I'm not sure if that's just in my drugstore or if that's the darkest that it goes, but it was not that deep, as you can see, just like all things on the internet. So this is the Physicians Formula, the Healthy Foundation Brightening Complex for all skin types foundation. I really like this guy a lot too. It did have quite a strong fragrance, I felt, but it wasn't like, I'm not really even smelling it now. I felt like it was a good, like, right down the middle foundation. It wasn't super full coverage. It wasn't super matte. It wasn't really dewy. It wasn't really light coverage. It was kind of just like right smack dab down the middle. And that definitely is a foundation that, like, that's like one of the best, like, first impressions of a foundation I feel like I've ever had. I really thought that that just, like, looked so beautiful and seamless. And I felt like it blended into my skin really easily. Like, I wasn't feeling like I had to, like, keep kind of blending over top or, like, working out any kind of, like, patchiness or streakiness or anything like that. It just kind of like seamlessly went into my skin. Then we used the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer that is horribly underrated. I don't know, man. It wasn't my least favorite brow gel in the world. I just feel like the color for me is a little bit off. It just looks a little bit green, as I mentioned. And it's not, I don't know, something about the delivery system just feels a little kind of like gloppy to me. It just kind of picks up so much product, and the bristles on the paddle are really quite short, so I just felt like it was so much product. But oddly enough, it didn't seem to like over apply any. I also didn't feel like I got any on my skin, but I prefer a little bit of a kind of warmer color, and I also prefer a tinted brow gel that I feel like sets my brows as well, rather than something that just kind of like coats and tints them. 5 out of 10. Okay, then we moved into the CoverGirl True Naked Sunsets palette. I really liked the color story of all these palettes I sent out. Hold on, let me just grab them all. So there's Sunsets, which is the one we used today. There's Peach Punch. There's Dazed. That's a fun little palette. And then there was Chocoholic, which is a good little neutral palette. So I felt like with all those palettes, I was immediately drawn to them when I got them in PR because I just felt like they had such a nice little range of color. They have like your nice highlight shades. There was like a matte shade. I think in every palette they had a matte shade except for that rainbow one, like a matte highlight shade. And then they had some nice shimmery highlight shades as well. And then kind of like a good range of like shimmer, kind of like mid-tones to deeper tones. I did find myself wishing that there was a shade that was even slightly darker because I felt like this one was not as dark as I was hoping for. I kind of wanted to build up a little bit more intensity. And I feel like these 3 colors on the end are so similar, like in terms of like darkness, that they kind of just blended out to look really similar on the lid. So I feel like I could have done with just one of them or even just 2 of them and had this be like a little bit of a deeper shade. But overall, I thought the formula was good. It could stand to be maybe a little bit more pigmented, so you're getting a color on the lid that's a little bit more true to the pan color. But it blended out well. It wasn't too patchy or anything like that. The shimmers were really, really pretty. I felt like they went on quite pigmented. Then we just used a couple quick colors to darken from the e.l.f. The New Classics palette. So far, I like that formula. It seemed like I didn't have a hard time building up that intensity. But to be honest, we like barely touched into that, so I'll just have to keep trying that, and I'll let you guys know what I think in another video. Then for our skin, we started with the Primer Infused e.l.f. bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. This was probably one of my favorite products that we tried today. I just felt like it blended into the skin really well. I really liked the color that it was. Then we tried out the Burt's Bees Toasted Cinnamon Blush. I feel like I really like the color of this blush. I just felt like it was a little bit too similar to that bronzer that we used, so I could see myself kind of using that, as I said, like on like more like skin focused days, just kind of like brushed all over instead of wearing like a bronzer kind of contour. Then we tried out the Peachy Cheeky e.l.f. Mineralized Blush, or Baked Blush, Mineralized Blush. I think it just was called a baked blush. This guy wasn't my favorite. I just felt like the texture looked really dry on my skin, and it did kind of appear as more of a highlight rather than a blush. I really love blushes that have a little bit of kind of like luminosity or like glow to them, but I felt like this was just more of like a full-on highlighter. Just like looking at this up close, it does look like there is an overspray over top of gold, so I'm just wondering if I worked my way into that blush quite a bit more, because you can even see where I scraped off that it looks a lot less gold than it does kind of like around these edges. So I just wonder if you like worked into that blush more, if it would look a lot less kind of like a highlighter and more like a true blush. Then we tried the e.l.f. Targeted Natural Glow Stick in Fresh Morning Dew. This guy I really like a lot. Again, this is kind of like a dupe for that Pat McGrath little balm situation. It's just a clear highlighting stick, and honestly I feel like it's one of those things where like if you were going to spend money on this, let it be $3 rather than like, I'm assuming like upwards of $40 for the Pat McGrath stick. I just feel like this is such an easy, quick way to add a little bit more kind of like life and like youth and dewiness into your skin, especially if you feel like you've over powdered your skin, or if you feel like your powder highlight is just a little bit too kind of dry looking, you're feeling like particularly textured that day. I just feel like it's such a great way to kind of minimize the texture of that powder appearance. Then we tried the Almay Nude Light Medium Smart Shade Butter Lip Balm stick. Probably maybe more of a balm, I don't know. Oh, they call it a lipstick. Okay, then I'll call it a lipstick. I like this guy. I feel like it was nice. I did feel like that texture kind of made my lips look a little bit more kind of like you could see the lines in them more for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm a crazy person. That's totally possible. But I do like it. I like the formula a lot. I might go pick up some more shades because I think it feels real nice on my lips. All right, you guys, so that is everything from me today. Thank you guys for sending in your favorite drugstore products. If you feel like there's anything that I missed that's like so important. Oh yeah, so many of you guys had recommended the like a bunch of Catrice products. Catrice? I don't think that's a thing in Canada. I think that may be only in Ulta's, so I don't know that I can dip my toes into that. But next time I head to the States, I'm gonna try and see if I can find Catrice products, because I know that a bunch of you guys had recommended there was setting spray, and then I think there was something else that a bunch of people had recommended. Anyways, if you feel like there's any other products that you think I need to try from the drugstore, definitely leave them down below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something cool today. I'll see you next time. Peace out.